I'm a fiend, bro. What's Gucci, my homies? This is the cringiest intro ever that it's taken me 4 times to do. It's gonna be my turn for the outtakes, but today we're diving into the age-old question, are sweeteners, artificial sweeteners, bad for you? There's so much controversy over this and we want to dive into the science and explore it. It's a big part of my life. What are artificial sweeteners is the age-old question. Why is it that something that tastes as good as sugar can be no calories? I mean, I can't believe it's not butter, if you know what I mean. So what they are synthetic sugar substitutes that are derived from sugar themselves or potentially other herbs and plants. Stevia comes from the stevia root, whereas other sugar substitutes like sweeteners and such come from sugar themselves, and the way they work they are weird mutations of sugar, and it's kind of, they make it in a lab in the sense that your body doesn't recognize it as a carb source, as that sugar type, so your body's not able to actually digest it, hence it passes it, causing it to have no to very low calorie amounts.
So what is the main goal of an artificial sweetener? Now there are a couple things to look at. Number 1 is that it just completely reduces your caloric intake. Number 2 is that it reduces the amount of sugar that you'll be consuming. So for those of you who have diabetes, a lot of the times you'll be recommended to use an artificial sweetener. Number 3, it'll satisfy your sweet tooth cravings. But the main and overall goal that I find a lot of people use an artificial sweetener for is just to help with weight loss and weight management. On top of that, you'd only need a fraction of the amount of sweetener compared to sugar to get the same sweetness in each drink that you're gonna be having. So Kyle and Josh, you're giving me all this information on artificial sweeteners, but what for? Okay guys, here are the 2 main issues at hand. Number 1, far too many people believe that artificial sweeteners are a direct link to cancer. Number 2, far too many people use artificial sweeteners as a weight loss tool and end up treating themselves with a heavy, dense dessert or something along the lines of that and end up overeating, and this is super counterintuitive to what they're actually trying to do.
Now let's talk application. Is it okay to use these diet substitutes as an exception or as a staple for your everyday state of life? I would say that it is okay to, within moderation. The issue with having too much isn't so much in having it in excess, as it's very hard to do. The studies that did link to cancer were in crazy amounts. It was the equivalent of over a dozen cans a day, which is just bonkers. It'd be very hard to get to that level, even if you tried. But on the other side, on the hindsight here, a lot of people use it for the wrong reasons and they end up addicted. Like, you hear stories of a lot of dieting women going out for their 12th can a day, and you gotta ask yourself, am I doing this as a moderation, as something to add to enjoy my life, or am I using it destructively? So to have it within moderation a couple times a day, for instance in your coffee, to substitute that sugar with Splenda, it will actually in turn bring you closer to your goal, if that's weight loss or that's health, kind of putting yourself in a better position than supplementing with a bunch of real sugars. However, you don't want to go crazy and completely remove sugar from your diet and substitute everything with these aspartame, sweetener kind of complexes. Instead, mix it up, be realistic with it. Diet Coke's an incredible substitution. Amino acids and other flavors like that, it really adds to it, and you don't have to be too scared of it. However, just don't become addicted. Don't be afraid of sugar. Sugar won't kill you as well, and that's something to keep in mind. Another interesting fact is that some studies have actually shown, a recent study, and this could be caused by a multitude of other factors, but it's interesting to note that an individual in this gentleman's study lost more when substituting water for Diet Coke in their weight loss in the group that only had water. Diet Coke provides some fun. It gets the dopamine receptors firing, makes you feel nice and full and like you're having a guilty pleasure when you really aren't, and that's the beauty of it.
To make a long story short, my camera ended up dying. I didn't have any extra batteries. That was my fault, but I'm gonna continue on with this video and continue to provide the information you guys want within artificial sweeteners. You guys have heard the gist of it. You guys know what they are, what they do, what they're meant for. We've talked about weight management, but now time to break down each artificial sweetener, or at least the main ones that you guys will hear on a daily basis, starting with aspartame. So basically aspartame, I'd say, is probably the most common one you guys will hear. It's sold under brand names such as NutraSweet, Equal, there's like a bunch of them going around. Like when you have a Diet Coke, it's filled with aspartame, there's gum with aspartame and whatnot. So basically it's 200 times sweeter than sugar. A lot less of it can be used, giving you the same level of sweetness compared to sugar. But the main issue at hand is there are so many rumors going around about aspartame, basically saying that it'll lead to so many different health problems, such as cancer, and like it is circulating the internet like crazy. I just know way too many people that when they see me drinking a Diet Coke or anything like that, they're just like, dude, like just drink a regular Coke. I'm like, no, like this isn't gonna kill me, this is not bad. And one thing I want to make clear to you guys is I care a lot about you guys. I care a lot about my health. Some people may see me eating a donut, drinking an energy drink, drinking a Diet Coke or anything like that, and they're thinking like, what is wrong with this guy? But a lot of people just do not understand that you can have carbs after 8, you can do a lot of this stuff and still be healthy. I wouldn't be providing you guys with this information and putting this out there if I didn't firmly believe in the research I've looked at from a lot of those educated people who are in labs doing this stuff. And I wouldn't be passing this information along to you guys if I did not do it myself. So with that being said, we're gonna jump into aspartame. I'll give you guys a little bit of facts. So there have been many studies that have been looking for health effects by testing lab animals with a crazy amount of aspartame. When I say crazy amount, I say like 4,000 milligrams. Put that into perspective, that's 4 grams, which is like a ton of Diet Coke. And there were no results which found that aspartame had a direct link to any health related issues. Now, on the other side of the spectrum, there was actually a study done by a group of Italian researchers that basically said that high amounts of aspartame in a rodent or a rat, you could say, will have a direct link and impact to blood-related cancers such as leukemia, lymphomas, but the FDA, which is known as the Food and Drug Administration, kind of took this information, questioned it all, and basically said that they didn't have enough sufficient research and data to actually make this claim. But the reason I'm telling you this is because, let's say these guys, this group of Italian researchers were to put out their study, to put out this information online, most people will look at it and be like, wow, they have a lot of information, a lot of data. Let's believe that aspartame is going to kill you in 2 years, or that it's going to have this huge effect on you. So just be on the lookout for that, because anybody can write an article, anybody can make a video, just like I'm doing right here, except I have a lot of backed up information from some of the top scientists in the world. There's also an early study done in the 1980s that basically stated that aspartame could have been a link to brain tumors, but later on the NCI, which stands for the National Cancer Institute, found out the information that brain tumors actually had begun in the 1970s, or started becoming more relevant, which was much before aspartame was in use. A lot of people that were also around the age of 70 were also developing brain tumors, and they were people who were not using aspartame. So this was something that was published. I think a lot of people believed and kind of got this myth going. Now, on top of that, the NCI, the National Cancer Institute, basically did a study with over 500,000 people, some of which had a high amount of aspartame compared to some which had none, and they found that there was no increase in the people who had aspartame for lymphomas, leukemias, or brain tumors, anything of the sort. The FDA has actually set an ADI, which stands for an acceptable daily intake of aspartame, and this comes to 50 milligrams per kilogram that you weigh, which actually comes to 18 to 19 cans of diet soda. Now let's put this into perspective. If you are someone who has, let's say, 4 cans of Pepsi per day, that's gonna be, close to 600 to 700 calories. If you were to replace those with diet soda, you'll be chopping off a large amount of calories within your day, which will help you reach your weight loss goals faster. With that being said, you need to make sure that you're not going on a binge and rewarding yourself with a Big Mac because you're having a Diet Coke.
Now guys, just one thing I want to add in, there is a rare genetic disorder called phenylketonuria. Basically, it's presented at birth, and what it means is that the body can't break down phenylalanine, which is an amino acid found in many foods. So because phenylalanine is a component of aspartame, it's important that people with this that have been diagnosed with this at birth actually limit their aspartame. But aside from that, there really is nothing else to be worried about. But for those of you who do have this, I'd be on the lookout, and that is why there are these warnings on labels.
Number 2 in the list, we're going to talk about sucralose, which is also known as Splenda. You guys probably hear this one just as much, maybe a little bit less than aspartame, but I'd say it's number 2 on the list. Basically, what studies say is that it is perfectly safe for human consumption. But to be a little bit more specific, it isn't harmful to your immune system, doesn't cause cancer, infertility, it doesn't pose a risk to pregnancy, and it also it doesn't have any effect to your blood sugar levels as well. So the acceptable daily intake of sucralose happens to be around 5 milligrams per kilogram, and they say that the typical person consumes about 1.6. Out of all the studies that have been done on this, there are none that say that sucralose has any potential dangerous effects on you. If you can find one, link me to it please, but out of everything I've looked at and every study that I've gone through, there has been nothing that said that it has a negative effect. Now, the one thing I did come across was similar to aspartame, there has been a bit of research that basically states that there is a direct link between sucralose intake and migraines. Number 3 on the list is saccharine, which is also known as those little sweet and low packages. I'll put a picture up on the screen so you know what I'm talking about. Basically, there was a study done in 1970 which was linked to urinary bladder cancer. This was found in rats. I think this is what really started the notion that it was super bad for you, that you should avoid it. At all costs, stay away from this artificial sweetener. But in 2000, the National Institute of Health actually removed this from the list of suspected carcinogens that were, you know, to be staying away from, and it actually was deemed to be perfectly fine for you to consume. Now, one thing you need to keep into consideration is that there was another study done that basically stated that you would need to have 50 servings of a drink that were full of saccharine to have some kind of negative effect on you. So a lot of these things are blown out of proportion. A lot of the testing is done on rats, but aside from that, when it comes to, and this can be caffeine as well, and energy drinks. We've actually made a video on this where we basically took energy drinks, broke it down, and explained all of that to you. I'll put a card right here. But everything is done in an unreasonable amount that nobody is ever going to be consuming. I mean, if you're drinking 20 Diet Cokes or 20 energy drinks a day, you're probably crazy anyways, no offense. But a lot of these studies are done to be blown out of proportion on rats, where 20 to 50 servings or amounts of this thing is being tested and, you know, trying to be proved that it's gonna, you know, give you cancer, and they're just blowing it out of proportion like crazy. So that's something you guys need to keep in mind. Dr. Lane Norton has a bunch of things where he basically says that there has been nothing linked to actual cancer. So I want you guys to really consider this. If someone's telling you that aspartame or an artificial sweetener is going to cause you cancer, I'd probably ignore them. I'd probably say that you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I'd highly recommend keep drinking your diet sodas within moderation. It is a great way to reduce calories, really get that sweet tooth feeling. And I really hope you guys enjoyed this video and you learned something. I am open-minded. You know, if you guys disagree with me, let me know why. If you agree with me, give it a thumbs up. If we can get to 200, we'll do another video like this, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Peace. My life ended up at a crossroad. This is when I knew I hit rock bottom.